Hi guys, when it comes to rebuilding the UK-EU relationship, we're hearing a lot of talk and very little action. Before the election, Starmer ruled out rejoining the European Union, the single market and the customs union. Pro-Europeans in Britain believed at the time this was an attempt to keep Brexit voters in the Red Wall on board and to avoid handing the Tories an opportunity to attack Starmer. But with the massive majority, nothing has really changed. The rhetoric is still positive, but the red lines have remained. With Starmer in Germany presenting a reset, Dr. Mike Galsworthy from European Movement UK spoke to Sky News about some of the problems that remain.
Realistically, what could we get at the end of the year treaty-wise?
Right. So the defence bit is good. And Britain has already been strong on Ukraine, as has the EU as a whole. But working together as partners is really, really important. It's good to hear mature, responsible talking about how we actually work together as partners. So I like that bit. But as you've just pointed out, you can talk about science and innovation and tech and culture, and you can give a whole list of things. But what you didn't show there is Keir Starmer also ruled out youth mobility scheme, Erasmus Plus, free movement, single market, all of the big things that would be a genuine reset of our relation. And this is what's frustrating a lot of people, because take something like a simple youth mobility scheme. It's not free movement, but there is no one born this millennium that got a vote on Brexit. You've got some people who are 25 now, some 26, that never had a say in it. If they were to have a say now, they're 85 to 90% for rejoin. And Keir Starmer is saying, no, we won't even give you limited mobility. We won't give Erasmus back. Even those that voted leave tend to think that leaving Erasmus was wrong. So much as though he said, this is really ambitious what we're going to do, and it's a big new treaty, he was also at pains to limit his ambitions extremely dramatically. And so it will be interesting to see what comes out in terms of cooperation. The words are good, the sound is good, the intention is good, the positioning is good. But if he genuinely wants to be ambitious, then he shouldn't be wringing his hands and listing up a whole load of things that he's not prepared to do that are only half ambitious.
Well said, Mike. See, this may be a message to the British public, to British voters. Look, we're not going to rejoin the single market. We're not going to rejoin the EU. We're not going to rejoin the customs union. We're not going to bring back Erasmus. We're not going to do these things. But this also sends a message to the European Union that Britain hasn't really changed. Yes, the people at the top have changed, but the mentality, has not changed. So this is exactly the same rhetoric we've heard from since the time of David Cameron. Before the Brexit referendum, Cameron was going to Europe saying, yeah, we want to have a positive relationship with Europe, but here is a list of the things we don't want. Starmer is doing exactly the same here. Boris Johnson was doing exactly the same. Theresa May was doing exactly the same. So at the top, while the hats have changed, the mentality doesn't seem to have changed. Yes, we want to have a good relationship with the European Union, but here is a list of our red lines. We're not going to accept this, we're not going to do that. And while that may be good to hold on to a certain number of voters in Britain, it sends a message to the European Union that Britain is not ready. Honestly, it sends a message that we're not ready yet. We're not ready to have a proper grown-up relationship with the European Union. Because if you look at other states that want to rejoin or that are pro-European, they don't have these red lines. Yes, they have certain red lines that they have to keep in order to keep their electorate happy. But it's generally a more positive message about Europe. In Britain, it's the opposite. I've said before that when it came to the Brexit referendum, there was leave and there was remain. But the remain vote, the people pushing remain, the head of the remain campaign, were not pro-European people. They were pro-status quo. And that's part of the reason why it failed. So David Cameron was not pro-European. He was, well, we have to maintain the status quo. And he went to Europe saying, we don't want this, we don't want that, we don't want the other. And we're seeing exactly the same thing with Starmer. As Mike pointed out, the people who would benefit from this new scheme are being told by people who could vote in the Brexit referendum, you're not allowed to have this. You weren't allowed to vote. You didn't get a chance to vote on this in 2016, and we're not going to give it to you today. Now, I think the reason why Starmer is refusing to do this is because of immigration once again. It seems the Labour government, excuse me, is unable to present a positive image of immigration. They're not able to present immigration in a positive light. So as soon as Erasmus is mentioned, as soon as the youth movement scheme is mentioned, people think immigration is nothing to do with immigration. The youth movement scheme is limited to a small group of people for a limited amount of time, 4 years. That's not immigration. It's not freedom of movement. But it seems maybe Starmer and the Labour Party are spooked by immigration, that they have to appear tough, that they're willing to draw these red lines. But once again, while British voters are listening to what Starmer is saying, the European Union is listening too. And the more he talks about what Britain doesn't want, I think the European Union will respond by saying, okay, then let's give it some time. And this is going to damage British businesses. It's going to damage growth, because as we know, if you want to grow the economy, you need workers. You need to bring people in to build houses, to build infrastructure. And Brexit is putting a brake on that. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.